If you want to skip the line in Disney World, you've probably heard of Lightning Lane. You've also probably heard that it's complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Today, we're walking through every single thing you need to know about using Lightning Lane in Disney World in 2026. Lightning Lane is Disney's paid skip-the-line service that lets you skip the standby line, so whatever that posted wait time is, and instead go through a much shorter line to access attractions faster. Now, the price does vary by date, and there are a couple of different ways that you can access Lightning Lanes. The first is Lightning Lane Multipass. Lightning Lane Multipass includes most attractions around Disney World, not counting some of the most popular rides in the park, which can be accessed through Single Pass. Don't worry, we'll get there in a second. You purchase Multipass for one theme park per day, but once you visit that park and use a Lightning Lane there, you can book Lightning Lanes in other parks, so it works if you're park hopping too. With Lightning Lane Multipass, you select 3 attractions in advance, and then while you're using Multipass in the park, you can have up to 3 reservations at all times. So once you use one, you can book another, always having up to 3. When you book those attractions in advance, you are booking for your first theme park, for the theme park that you're paying for. Magic Kingdom is the most expensive usually, Animal Kingdom is typically the least. And you're choosing your first 3 attractions before you make your purchase. So you're guaranteeing those attractions before you ever have to buy. In most parks with the advanced booking, you choose 1 attraction from the Tier 1 list, which are the more popular rides, and then your other 2 have to come from the Tier 2 list. Animal Kingdom is the exception, as there are no tiers in that park. Guests who are staying at a Disney World Resort hotel or other select hotels can book their Lightning Lanes 7 days ahead of your check-in date at 7 a.m., and then you can book for the entire length of your trip up to 14 days. If you're not staying in one of those hotels, you can book your Lightning Lanes up to 3 days in advance, starting at 7 a.m., but in this case, you cannot do it for the length of your trip. You will have to book day by day. Once you're in the park, you've made it, you're in Disney World, you use your first Lightning Lane, you skip the line, it's awesome. Now, you've used one of your Lightning Lanes. You only have 2. You're allowed to have up to 3. So head into the My Disney Experience app and check out the availability of current Lightning Lanes. After that, you can make additional selections, always keeping up to 3. You do have to book the next available time, which is what Disney will show you, and these times are hour-long windows. And remember, if you have park hopping availability, you will be able to book Lightning Lanes in the other parks you plan to go to. Now, remember I mentioned that some rides aren't included, probably some rides with some very long lines that you would want to skip. Those are Lightning Lane Single Pass attractions. This is an a la carte purchase, so you buy it per ride. You can buy up to 2 a day, and most of the parks have 1 Single Pass attraction, except for Magic Kingdom, which has 2. When you purchase Single Pass, you can select your return window, unlike Multipass, where you have to take the next available, and you do not have to have Multipass to purchase Single Pass. The attractions for Lightning Lane Single Pass are Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and Tron Light Cycle Run in Magic Kingdom, Rise of the Resistance in Disney's Hollywood Studios, Flight of Passage in Disney's Animal Kingdom, and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind in Epcot. We touched on this, but let's talk about when you can book. Now, same thing is true for Single Pass, where it's that 7-day window if you are in a Disney World hotel, or a 3-day window if you are not. There is a secret third option, and by secret I mean really expensive, called Lightning Lane Premier Pass. This is a very expensive option that lets you access every Lightning Lane in a given park without a reservation. So you can access every Lightning Lane once, you can do it whenever you want, which means you could literally just walk the park in a path that made sense and just go to every Lightning Lane, including the Single Pass Lightning Lanes. But this is super pricey. When I used it in Magic Kingdom, it was over $400.
Cha-ching!
Now, if you have a date-based ticket, you will be able to book for all of the days of your trip. If you have any other ticket type, like an annual pass, you'll have to book day by day at 7 a.m., 3 days out from every day. It's fun.
Fine.
Now, the big question: how much does it cost? Lightning Lane prices change based on predicted crowds. So Disney sets the prices based on what they think the demand will be. And it does vary from park to park. Magic Kingdom, typically the most expensive. Animal Kingdom, typically the least expensive. You'll also see spikes in prices around the holidays or super busy times of year, and you can see the prices drop significantly during slow weeks. This happens for both Multipass and Single Pass, and even Premier Pass, just like the park admission might be a little cheaper at slower times of year. Common question: can you buy Lightning Lane for Animal Kingdom at the cheapest price and then spend most of your day using the Lightning Lanes in Magic Kingdom? The answer is yes, you can do that. But you will have to actually start your day in Animal Kingdom and use a Lightning Lane there before you can move to Magic Kingdom. So if you do that, you're saving some money, definitely, but you're losing out on being able to book your 3 advanced attractions in Magic Kingdom, which might be more popular rides, because you'll have to book those 3 in advance in Animal Kingdom. And you're now rope dropping Animal Kingdom instead of Magic Kingdom. Rope drop is a time you're usually able to get much shorter lines on attractions, and that can be really valuable in Magic Kingdom. So it's kind of a toss-up whether or not it's worth it for you, but it is an option. Now, the way Multipass prices vary based on park. single pass prices vary based on attraction. Usually the most expensive are Tron Light Cycle Run and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Then you can see some serious fluctuation from Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and Avatar Flight of Passage. But the one that kind of caps off everybody and is usually the most expensive of all is Rise of the Resistance. These are usually between like $15 and $20. It's about what I budget, but they can definitely go higher, like $25 during really busy times. My recommendation is that in the days leading up to your trip, go ahead into the My Disney Experience app and keep an eye on what the pricing is looking like. But it's a pretty solid range, and you can kind of guess where in the range you'll be depending on what time of year you'll go. Summer, holiday weekends, spring break, maybe pricier. September, cheaper. If you want to learn more about the lowest crowds and therefore cheapest times of year to visit Disney World, we have a video on the channel right now called Best Times to Go to Disney World that you can look at and see if you can find a good time of year. Okay, app walkthrough. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to book these. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to open the My Disney Experience app. From there, you will tap on Purchase on the Lightning Lane graphic on the home screen or the menu under Lightning Lane Passes. You'll select Purchase Lightning Lanes, either Multipass or Single Pass, depending on what you want. Then you'll choose your date, park, and party. Make sure in advance you have everyone who's going with you, who you want to buy Lightning Lanes for, linked in your My Disney Experience app. From there, you'll see the 3 attraction selection screen, and it will very clearly show you which ones are Tier 1 and which one are Tier 2. So you'll pick your 1 Tier 1 and your 2 Tier 2. Then you'll choose your return time, review your selections, and complete your purchase. After that, your confirmed Lightning Lane selections will appear on the Lightning Lanes page. Then, on your park day, when your Lightning Lane first becomes active, so that window starts, you go and you tap your park admission to get into that Lightning Lane. This could be a Magic Band, it could be a physical ticket, or it could be your virtual park admission in your My Disney Experience app. As soon as you scan in, go ahead and open your app and start checking availability to book your next Lightning Lane. The sooner you use Lightning Lanes, the sooner you can book more and the more options you'll have available to you. And I know it seems kind of complicated so far. The strategy makes it much more complicated, but I'm gonna make it as simple as I can to help you out. First tip, create a list of priorities. Before booking your Lightning Lanes and before your trip in general, even if you don't decide to use Lightning Lanes, go ahead and get everyone in your group together to hear everyone's top 3 must-do rides for the whole trip. Then when you're booking your Lightning Lanes, you can refer to that list and make sure those are marked off and out of the way so that you prioritize those and aren't disappointed, and everything else feels like extra, bonus, cherry on top. Another tip, book the earlier times. The earlier your first Lightning Lane return time, the sooner you're allowed to book your next one. Unless it is a total, very high demand must-do, and really the only one that falls into this category is Slinky Dog Dash, do not lock up your booking window with a 6 p.m. return time for a top ride, unless it's a big must-do. Slinky Dog Dash frequently runs out of all availability by mid-morning, so you might want to have it locked in. And when you are originally booking and rebooking, you can always book the earliest available time for something that you're interested in, and then just keep an eye out. You never know when an earlier time might pop up, and you can always modify that time for something a little bit earlier. One thing I do recommend is considering a burner or passkey attraction first thing in the morning. Now you get 3 Lightning Lanes. Odds are one of those is going to be that really high demand Tier 1 that you're going to hold on to even if it's a 5 p.m. One of those is probably going to be something you really want to do in Tier 2, and it might be like 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. The third one you want to play with a little bit. Look for the ride that has the earliest possible availability, ideally within an hour of park open or when you're planning to arrive. There are a lot more restrictions on Lightning Lanes before you scan into your first Lightning Lane. So once you scan into that first one, if it's at 9:30 a.m., you can now book a second Tier 1 attraction, for instance, because the tiers go out the window. You can start planning to park hop, and it gets a little bit easier to modify once you first scan into your first Lightning Lane. So we like to grab a low demand Lightning Lane. Sometimes this is Mad Tea Party. I scan it quickly so that I can add a second Tier 1 attraction because now the tiers are gone. That will mean that you have more high priority attractions to work with a little earlier. Monitor price and availability. Now remember I said to keep an eye on price in the days leading up to your trip or your booking window? You also want to keep an eye on how Lightning Lane availability looks in the days leading up to your trip. Is everything good booked up by 2 p.m. or are things sticking around until 4 or 5? That's what you want to keep an eye on what to prioritize. You can kind of use a rule that if it is a tier 1 attraction, it will probably book up earlier. So that is a good way to know what to prioritize during your trip. But the earlier you're using lightning lanes, you're booking more lightning lanes, you can get an idea of how much luck you'll have, how much value for money you'll get by checking what lightning lane availability looks like ahead of your purchase. Now we've got some rules about lightning lane. One of them is the 12 a.m. rule. When you're booking your lightning lanes, you might notice that you're not getting the earliest available time because the system doesn't allow you to overlap lightning lane reservations even with a dining reservation. So even though, yes, realistically, you probably can use a lightning lane for Tiana's Bayou Adventure and Pirates of the Caribbean in the same hour, it won't let you overlap. But at midnight, on your park day, this goes away. Now I get it. You're probably not up at midnight. I usually am. But whether you're up early in the morning or at midnight or whenever you're up for your park day, go ahead and see if you can modify any of your times to be a little earlier. I would say 90% of the time you can, unless it's the super, super popular attractions, because the app was just trying to be helpful by not letting you overlap, but really overlapping is fine. Now, modifying. You've probably heard this. Modify, modify, modify. You're going to be refreshing that app. If you really want to make the most of lightning lane, this is the way to do it. You can modify any lightning lane you have to be an earlier time for that attraction or for a different attraction. And people are canceling lightning lanes and changing their plans all day. I regularly have been able to get really high demand attractions very late in the day because I just keep an eye and keep modifying and looking for them. The big complaint from a lot of people is that if you're doing this and really making the most of it, you have to keep your nose glued to your phone. And it's true. If you want to maximize, sure, you would, but that's not really realistic. What is realistic is being able to modify a couple of times to get slightly better times that fit your day, or even much better times, or even an attraction that looks like it's been sold out all morning, just because you use your natural downtimes in the day to kind of check on lightning lanes and refresh 10 times and move on. There are a lot of natural downtimes in Disney World. You could be waiting in a line, waiting for mobile order food to be ready. You could do it while you're eating a quick service meal or during a break in a shady spot. Obviously, don't do this in lieu of hanging out and talking to your family and friends, which is what your Disney trip is all about. But if you do have that time where everyone's tired and standing in silence, get out the phone and refresh a few times. Maybe you can surprise everyone with a much better time for Frozen Ever After. Also, use Disney Genie. I know, what is she talking about? Genie went away. Genie is what Lightning Lane used to be called. No, kind of. It was really confusing. There is still a thing called Disney Genie in the app, and this is a little bit of a trip planner that Disney uses based on your preferences. The trip planning, iffy. I don't recommend using its recommendations most of the time, but there is one thing that it can do which will help make modifying your lightning lanes a lot easier. If you use Disney Genie and the Plan My Day feature, you can select the rides that are your priorities. If you are looking for a particularly good lightning lane for a ride, like Tiana's Bayou Adventure, you can mark Tiana's Bayou Adventure with a check mark in this screen, and when you're modifying, Tiana's Bayou Adventure will be pinned to the very top. So you don't have to scroll all the way down to T to see what time is available. You can just keep refreshing and it will be right there. Actually saves you a ton of time, and it could be the difference between you getting that good time or someone else getting it before you have time to snag it. To do this, you're going to go into the My Disney Experience app and today's plans, and you'll see a pop-up that says start here to plan your day. Underneath that, you're going to click on get started now, and you'll be navigated to a page that will let you choose your date and your park. You can even do this in advance. And then of course your party, remember to get them linked. But then you'll see a screen called Top Picks that shows you all of the things during the day, and you can select all of the ones that you would hope to get lightning lanes for later. And those will all show up right at the top if you are modifying a lightning lane and looking for better times. It might seem silly, but those precious moments that it takes to scroll really could be the difference of you getting those good times or not. Next tip, take advantage of grace periods. Lightning lane windows are a little bit more flexible than they seem. If you have a lightning lane window that's from 3 to 4 p.m., you have that 1 hour return window. That's true. But you can actually scan into your lightning lane up to 5 minutes early ahead of your window, and there's a grace period where you could be up to 15 minutes late. But there's a secret grace period. This is the secret 2-hour grace period. It is something that my friend Breedlove discovered, and basically, that lightning lane says it expires at 4. The grace period says it's until 4:15. But in reality, when you walk up to an attraction and scan your lightning lane, the kiosk will turn green, meaning your lightning lane is good to go, until 1 hour and 59 minutes after that lightning lane expires. So if it was set to expire at 4, that means you can scan until 5:59 and it will turn green. We have a whole video explaining this and Breedlove testing it. It lets you stack lightning lanes because once that 4 o'clock time passes, you can actually book a new one even though you still plan to use that one at 5:30. It's a pretty advanced tip, but it does mean you don't have to stress too much about rushing across the park to get to a lightning lane. Technically, this is to cast member discretion. They can see on their screen how late you are. The kiosk will turn green, and I've used this dozens, if not 100 times, and I've never had an issue. Use the new app update to your advantage if you're park hopping. My Disney Experience has had a pretty good update recently, and it can help you out with your lightning lanes. In the My Plans tab, there is an option that says add another park to your day. This functions a lot better than it used to. Now, this has always been there. There's a slider where you can select what time you think you'll be headed to that park, and it helps the Genie give you recommendations that, again, I think you should ignore. This also lets you put in your ride preferences for that park like we did earlier. And what's really cool is that on that page, if a lightning lane pops up in the window that makes sense for you to go to it based on what you put into the plan another park section, there will be a button that says book the lightning lane right from that page. That's another way you can maybe get some better lightning lanes when you're park hopping. All right. Is lightning lane worth it in 2026? The big question. It kind of depends, of course. It's worth it if you have a shorter trip, if you want to ride a lot or ride some things twice, if you're visiting during a very busy time, you're with kiddos who can't handle long waits, and if you want to ride all the headliners. It's maybe not worth it if you are a strategist. In the past, we have done every ride in Magic Kingdom using lightning lane and done the exact same showing not using lightning lane on one of the busiest weeks of the year, Thanksgiving week. So good strategy can save you too. It also might not be worth it if you're visiting during a slow month, if you don't mind the occasional long line, if you're focusing more on shows and characters, and if you're on a tight budget. My general rule for Multipass is you don't really need it for Animal Kingdom or Epcot, but it can be really helpful at Hollywood Studios and Magic Kingdom. And then single passes in general are going to be really helpful if there's something that you're interested in. Some mistakes to avoid when booking lightning lanes: do not use lightning lanes for rides with short wait times unless it's something like that burner attraction or you're doing it for a reason. Just wait in line. You don't need to hold out for a really good time for a 10-minute wait to Mad Key Party. You just wait 10 minutes. Don't think you'll be able to book anything you want on the day of. Stuff does book up. Stuff can book up in advance, and it can book up fast. Don't use lightning lanes for shows, especially those that rarely exceed their seating. Maybe Festival of the Lion King on a busy day could be a good use of it. Don't make the mistake of not scanning into your first lightning lane quickly. Remember to book at 7 a.m. on that eligible day of booking. And I know it's early, but get up, get booking. I set an alarm for 6:58, and then I groggily stare at my phone in bed like this. You should maybe do earlier than 6:58. That's kind of cutting it close. And remember to always have a backup plan in case anything goes wrong. This is true of any Disney trip. A Disney trip that goes exactly as planned does not exist, whether you have lightning lane or not. So be ready to pivot and find something else really fun that could be the highlight of your vacation. You never know if something goes wrong. Remember, this is just the basics of lightning lane, and we have a lot more advanced tips and strategies on the channel. Just look for any video with skip the line or lightning lane in the title. I hope this was helpful. If you're still here, put this secret code in the comments so I know you made it all the way. And don't forget to subscribe. We upload tips about lightning lane and also other things from Disney World and beyond all week, because we are serious about fun. I'll see you next time.